Welcome back to the Journeys in Business series. I'm Jess, owner of Jess Creatives, and in this series, I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to hear about their journeys in business and lessons they have learned. Hey Jodi, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so why don't we start off telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Jodi Brandon, and I run Jodi Brandon Editorial. And I work with solopreneurs and creative entrepreneurs and sort of, one woman, sometimes one man, mostly one woman shops, business owners who want to scale their business and they want to use a book as a tool to do it.
That is so cool. So my mom was a librarian, and so books have always been a big part of my life. So how did you get into this?
I was very lucky. I'm one of those weird people who just always knew from a young age what I wanted to do.
Me too.
I knew I was going to move to New York and work in books. I didn't know anything other than that, but I knew that the Big Apple was where I was at for book publishing, and I wanted to work in that industry. So that's what I did.
So cool. How many years have you been doing it?
I graduated from college in 1997 and moved to New York 2 weeks later. So,
oh my gosh, so cool.
I have good genes. I'm older than I look.
Growing up, I always thought that I would live in New York City. Obviously I don't live there, but I always joke I'm going to move to New York City because I grew up in a really small town, and so basically New York City was really the only big city that I really knew about.
Right.
But I always,
when you're in your early 20s and single and you don't care that you don't have enough money or you need to live with 8 roommates to afford your rent in Manhattan, it's the best time to do it.
Yes. I actually, I think what made me want to move to New York City was 13 Going on 30. Did you ever see that movie?
I love that movie. Yes.
I know, that was one of my favorite movies for the longest time. And she worked at a magazine, and I was like, I want to work at a magazine. I want to move to New York City. And my parents always used to be like, no, you're not going to move to New York City. And obviously I didn't, but I still love living in Atlanta. But so
my dad made me, the deal was because NYU at that time opened up their housing in the summer, a couple of their dorms, so you could live for cheaply. So my dad and I made a deal that if I didn't have a job offer by the end of, July, I was coming back to Pennsylvania, and I did not want to go back to Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania, but I, didn't want to move home after college. So I luckily found myself a job.
It all worked out.
It all worked out.
Yes. So what is your favorite part of what you do, or what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
Well, I love the flexibility of being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I love the idea of, setting my own hours and setting my own schedule and all of that. My favorite part about my job, though, is, working with people to help them, produce a great book, really. So for a long, long time, I did just book editing, mostly copy editing. And then I just sort of started branching out from there. And I just started recently also doing some writing coaching, which has been really fun, where I get brought in the process a little bit earlier. So before the manuscript is written usually, or in the early stages of writing, and sort of work with someone for a longer period of time as they develop book and the structure and all that. So that's been really, really fun also. So
that's super cool. So besides the editing and then the writing coaching, is there any other service that you offer? Or is it...
I offer a publishing consulting, which is basically just, the book publishing industry is such a weird, insular little industry that if you're not a part of it, you just
don't know
what's going on. What are you talking about? There's its own vocabulary. It's very strange.
Yes.
So, I just sort of offer, a little consulting there to help people sort of navigate, that world. Do I want to publish traditionally? Do I want to self-publish? How do I go about all that? So, yeah.
Speaking of industry jargon, Jodi and I are actually working on her book, and she said something in the book about interior designer. And I was like, that's like someone who decorates your house, she meant what I'm doing, which is designing the inside of her book, like laying it out and all that. And so I asked Jodi, I asked you, I was like, is this what you meant? And then you were like, yeah, this is like what the industry talks about. Like, this is what we say.
Yep.
Like, interesting. Because like, not that I am super familiar with the book publishing industry, but I was like, I feel like I know stuff, especially since my mom was a librarian. And but then when I learned that, I was like, funny, like like.
Well, and I was so glad that you mentioned that, because it makes perfect sense that most people are going to think what you think, that it's the person who decorates your house, and you're wondering why the heck I'm suddenly talking about that in the middle of formatting your book. So tweak the copy, we're all good.
So what drives your business? Why do you do what you do?
Because I love books. I love the written word. I love the English language. I love all of that. And I never want books to go away. And being able to combine that love with helping people, grow their own businesses is just really, it's the best. It's the best.
How many books do you think you have read / edited?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. Since I started working directly with authors independently on their own books, like since I stopped working on staff at a publishing house, I'm almost at 100 authors. But I worked on staff for, probably close to 10 years also. So
even more.
Yeah. So a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Do you have any favorites that stick out in your mind?
Well, a lot of them are business, like a lot of the ones when I was on staff are boring, finance. So those are not my favorites.
Right.
Those are not my favorites. I worked on a book. Some of them I'm not allowed to talk about, but that's a big thing with the big publishers. You're not allowed really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did work on one that I won't say the title so I can talk about it, but it was written by a Wall Street Journal reporter who had a story like go viral, and he ended up writing a book about it. And it was about, it was a sports book. It was about like a sporting event. Yeah. And a really interesting book to work on, really detail oriented, like tons and tons of endnotes, which I love working on because I'm detail oriented, which most people hate. But it was, he was really cool to work with. The project was really cool. The subject matter was really cool. So that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you could go back to when you first started your own business and like sit down with yourself on that first like day or first week, what would you tell yourself?
I think I would tell myself to have a better plan or have a plan, really. So the way I shifted into my current business is really probably unusual, because I didn't decide I was going to stop working with publishers and start working directly with authors. But I had worked with this guy on his sales book when I was working at a publishing house. And then like 2 years later, he emailed me and said, I really enjoyed working with you. I'm working on my new book and I'm going to self-publish it. And I was wondering if you work directly with writers instead of, through a publishing house. Yeah. And it was so weird because he only even had my personal email because one day our server at work went down when I was on staff at that place and we were on deadline. So I had given him my personal email, or he never even would have had it. And when I got that email, I was like, well, I could do that. Why not? So I worked with him, and then it happened a couple other times. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is pretty great.
This is really awesome working.
Yeah, it's simple because in publishing, you don't decide what you're going to charge. Every publisher says, this is what I pay for copy editing. This is what we pay for proofreading. There's no negotiation. So to be able to set my own prices and tell him how long it was going to take versus someone saying, I need this 300-page book copy edited, by next week for, like $3 or whatever. So I just sort of like jumped in more and more. And then there's a shift going on in the book publishing industry where a lot of, even the big publishers are outsourcing their editing to countries overseas.
Nice.
India is a big one. And nothing against India, but I think copy editing should be done by people who speak English as their first language.
No, that makes sense.
I mean, the whole point of copy editing is like the grammar and the English rules and all that. So I just think it's important to have that done by people who, really have a good grasp on the English language. And that's not necessarily the case with what's happening in publishing, which is why, I'm sure in books you read, just pick up to read, they're filled with errors now because the editing is being done super fast, not being given the time and attention it deserves. And it's being done by people who, don't speak English as their first language. And it makes me really sad that that's happening.
Yeah.
But it made it easy for me to decide, okay, so I'm just going to go out and do it on my own then and see if I can make it work. And so I've been able to make it work, which is great, but it probably would have been a little bit better to have some idea what the heck I was doing as far as like on the business end of it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was definitely not treating it like a business at the beginning.
Yeah, neither was I. I kind of just started freelancing like in college. Like, oh, like you can make us a t-shirt. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? I can do that.
Yeah.
And then, bigger projects and more projects. And then like, it's like, oh, well, maybe I should like I remember the first time that I didn't have someone pay me.
Yeah.
But like, what do I do? And then that is when I really started, when I was first starting and I was in college, like I didn't know anything. And then when I kind of started to actually, maybe I'll like try and actually get clients instead of waiting for them. I didn't know other entrepreneurs. I think I was in one Facebook group, and that was like before Facebook groups were a big thing.
Right.
And so it was like, oh, wait, there's like software for contracts and like there's like systems that you can set up. Like, what is this? And I think, I've only been doing this for 5 years, and I can already see a big difference from when I started to now, because like now it's like just Google it and you can get out like a full written plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas maybe I just wasn't Googling the right things, but it was
same.
But it was just like, now it's like, well, I could just start. It's so easy to start freelancing.
Yeah.
Not that it's easy, but there's a lot more like
a lot more resources and things available. Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
Yeah. So I think having a plan up front would have been nice as well. Because I feel like I've just been kind of winging it. I feel like every year I get a little bit better like systems or workflow or whatever. And, but it's like, like I was talking to somebody earlier and they were like, yeah, I'm like starting to think about 2017. And I was like, what? I was like, I haven't started doing that yet. Like, I'm not ready for that.
Right. Yeah. But I think it's the whole, you don't know what you don't know when you start, which probably was good, because otherwise I might've been scared to death and just been
my gosh,
I'll just keep taking, no money from publishing houses.
Yes, please. Thank you. But going back to the outsourcing and like them sending the copy over to India and whatever, like, I agree that it's super important that someone that speaks English as the first language. Cause like when I work on like websites or even books or whatever, and I'm doing copy, and sometimes I'll have clients like, oh, like, so do you look over my copy? And I'm like, you don't want me to look over your copy.
Right.
I feel like I'm a decent grammar person, but I know there are plenty of mistakes. I just had someone last week point out an error in my sidebar on my blog. They were like, it was a copywriter, and she's like, you forgot a word. And I'm like, how long has that been up there? And no one said anything. But so it's like, I'm always like, no, you need to hire an actual copywriter or copywriter, because even though I can look at it, like there's still going to be a ton of mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you saw when I sent my first like laid out copy of my book, I mean, there were tons of mistakes still in there, even though, I went through that thing at least 2 times. An editor went through it, and there were, I mean, you catch more with every time you go through it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you really do have to.
Yeah, when I was making the edits, and I was like, how did I not like see that? And I'm like, man, these editors who see like every little detail, like missed letters or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this is why I'm not a copy editor. I leave it to the professional.
Well, it's a pretty specific skill. It is, and you have to really enjoy doing it because it's tedious. It's very tedious work. Yeah. I mean, I like it, but it's not for everybody. I get that.
Is there anything that you wish you had done differently over the last several years? Or
I think
that you've made?
I think that I wish I would have outsourced sooner, like hired a team sooner. I mean, I think I had that whole entrepreneurial, like control freak type A, like, no, I have to do it all myself.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
I mean, I think we all are at that place for a long time. And then I was just at a conference last month, and Katie Hunt of Trade Show Bootcamp said, once you start hiring, like, you want to hire out everything. Like, you realize how freeing it is. And she's so right. Once I hired like the first person, I was like, oh, now I have all of that off my plate. I have all this time to do this that I really like it's been on my to-do list for, months, and I just keep moving it to the next, list and moving it to the next list. But yeah, it's really, obviously take the time to find the right people and all of that. But if you can get good people like on your team who, are invested in like the big picture goal, then it really is it's such a weight off of your shoulders. So I think I wish I would have done that sooner. I don't know. I wouldn't really I don't consider anything a mistake because, everybody makes, there's things you can learn from all the time. But I think hiring the team, especially right now, I'm going through a lot of like personal family issues in the background with my parents' health. And, the book launches on November 1st. So the book's launching whether I'm ready or not. So luckily my team has been on it during the times when I've been, my parents live an hour and a half away in a different state. And I've been over there at least 2 or 3 times a week to help take my mom to treatment and all this. So it's been, there's no way the book was launching without some help. Yeah. So I think just being open to that is a good lesson for any, entrepreneur. But
so I know that obviously, like you said, hiring, outsourcing is really scary. So can you touch on a little bit like how you started outsourcing? Like, where did you find them? Like, did you interview them or?
I did interview them. I found both of the people that I work with super regularly in Facebook groups, women's business Facebook groups. So the first thing was easy to hire out because this is before I knew you, but I needed a designer because I'm a words girl. I do not understand, like image size and horizontal image size, all that stuff. And I was working on, I never had to have a website before in book publishing, even as a freelancer for 15, 12 years, whatever it was. I never had a website. I never had any social media accounts. I got all my work through word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then I started working with some entrepreneurs who were like, oh, can I check out, do you have a Facebook page? Can I check out your website? And I was like, I don't have either of those. So, and then I started looking into like, DIY, like, can I set up a website? And I think not you, but people like you who it's an easy, not easy, but it's what you do.
Right.
It seems easier. So a lot of, techie type people were like, oh, it's so easy to set up your website. Well, no, if you're me, it's not so easy to set up a website at all. And I was like, so I was like, I need to find somebody to help me with my website. And then in talking with a couple different people, and then in talking with Caitlin, who I eventually hired, she was like, well, we could also do, set up, images for Instagram and images for your Facebook page and all these other things that I didn't even have any idea that I needed to, develop a brand. So she sort of, I'm sure she got off that first call like, oh my gosh, what is that?
No.
So yeah, and then last year I brought on a VA, a virtual assistant, which has been,
Nice.
yeah, super, super helpful. So she's organized and has it together, and so that's fantastic. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think virtual assistants are one of the first things that so many people hire.
Yeah.
And I think it, like, from what I hear, everyone who has one is like, loves it, loves them. It's like a huge stress relief. And
yeah. And you can start small. Like when I first hired her, I think I hired her for like 5 hours a month or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just, she was just doing like my blog, like getting the blog. She was doing like some research for some blog posts. And then once they were drafted, you know, uploading them and you know, doing all the tags and all that other stuff. And then I was like, oh, that's great. Could you also do, you know, and then we just sort of added on from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah, pretty,
And
I highly recommend it.
Yes. And then what I think, like, starting small with certain hours, it's also, I don't think people realize that a lot of VAs can do one-off projects. Because I actually hired Allie to do something for my blog. It was when I switched from MailChimp to ConvertKit, and I had like 100 blog posts that needed the new opt-in form. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is super easy, but it's like, my time can be spent doing something better.
Right.
And like, I need to be designing. And so I hired her to switch all those out.
Yeah, no,
and
exactly.
So, and I've hired other VAs for like little one-off things, just, and not all will do it, but it's like, if you just need someone to like do one like big task, you know, like, oh, this month I'm revamping this, so I need you to like look through all of it. Like, I think so many people are like, I can't hire a virtual assistant because I don't have enough stuff. And I'm like, start with 5 hours, start with one project. Like,
see how it goes. If you can think of other things, think of other things. If not, and then it was a one-time thing.
Yeah. So that's so good. So I know you said your book is coming out, and when people are listening to this, your book will have come out.
Woo!
So, which is exciting to think about.
Exciting.
Like, it makes me excited because I'm also working on it. So I always like the launch of a project. So talk a little bit about your book and like where people can buy it and all that.
Okay. Well, I printed out the cover. We don't have the book yet, but I printed out a picture of this beautiful cover that you made.
Yay. I love it.
I love this cover too. I'm obsessed with it.
I love the yellow.
I don't usually like yellow, and I love it. Yeah. When you sent me the samples, I was like, that yellow looks so good. And I don't normally like yellow, but so the book is called Write, Publish, Market. And I'm calling it a blueprint for creative entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to take, you know, so they know they should be writing a book to scale their business, get themselves credibility, visibility, all that stuff. So a book is one way to do it. One of the best ways, in my opinion. And it takes you basically from, you know, seed of an idea all the way through either bound book or, you know, ebook. So it takes you through the writing process. It takes you through the self-publishing process. Then it takes you through, you know, the marketing project process and the launch plan and all that. So it's, you know, sort of a one-stop shop for
yes. And you break it down so easily in the book. Like, I mean, I've gone kind of through launching a children's book is a lot different than a business book. But going through the process, I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's so simple and broken down, like something like I wish I had it kind of for my children's book. That's different. But just, it's so like, I'm like, so many people need to read this. Like,
well, I think because of the unfamiliarity with the publishing industry, it seems so overwhelming. And it's really not hard to do. I mean, you know, if your strength, like my strength is the writing, so I knew I wasn't going to format it myself, so I found you. Right? You know what I mean? I mean, some people are doing that, all of it themselves, whether it's budget related or because they're interested in it, and that's great. But yeah, I think just making the whole process seem accessible and not overwhelming is my goal. So I'm hoping that I've achieved that.
Are you gonna do like a book tour?
I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know. I'm going to do a virtual book tour for sure.
Oh, that's good.
I'll probably do, I have something lined up like at my local library and with a couple of local writers groups. So, I'm not opposed to.
Well, you can come to Atlanta.
I would love to come to Atlanta. Yeah.
So your book will be on Amazon.
Will be available on Amazon on November 1st. You can get a paperback or a Kindle version. Yeah.
Where can people connect with you?
www.jodibrandoneditorial.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Jodi Brandon Editorial, and on Twitter as Jodi_Brandon. That's my oldest one. I should probably convert that over so that they all match. Yeah. So that's where you can find me.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was so good. And
it was fun.
Now everyone needs to go, A, buy your book, B, write their own book.
Yes, write your book, write a book, get it out there.